Good evening. Welcome to our Council and Committee of the Full meeting for May 20th, 2025. Sorry, I thought you were there already. Bienvenue à notre réunion de conseil pour le 20 mai. For this evening's opening and land acknowledgement, I'll pass the floor to Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Madame Maire. Reconnaissance des territoires. Je souhaite prendre un moment pour souligner l'importance du territoire sur lequel nous sommes rassemblés. La municipalité du Nipissing-Ouest reconnaît avec respect que nous sommes réunis sur les terres ancestrales du peuple Anishinaabe, sur les territoires traditionnels des Premières Nations Nipissing, Temagami et d'Okis. Désignés par le traité Robinson-Huron, nous honorons leur lien historique avec le territoire et nous valorisons leur contribution considérable au façonnement et au renforcement de nos communautés. Ce faisant, nous réaffirmons notre engagement et notre responsabilité envers la réconciliation et l'amélioration de notre compréhension des peuples autochtones locaux et de leur culture.
Merci, Councillor Larrabee. Number 2 on the agenda, any declarations of pecuniary interest? Councillor Larrabee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a conflict of interest on planning 6.2.1, zoning amendment 724 Nipissing Street, Certain Falls.
And the clerk is in receipt of the appropriate paperwork.
All the
for that?
paperwork has been filed, yes.
Thank you very much, Councillor Larrabee. Any other declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
It is moved by Councillor Larrabee and seconded by Councillor Rastoul. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting held on May the 20th, 2025 be adopted as presented.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. This evening, we do have under delegations and petition, one petition in regards to street lighting on Nipissing Street. Just be informed that the petition is being received by council and will be discussed at our next meeting. Thank you. With that, we'll move into Committee of the Whole. Item 5.1, Planning Committee, and for that, I will pass the floor to our Chair, Councillor St. Louis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So under planning, the Planning Committee, we have the official plan public consultation update. I will pass it, I assume, to Sam or Monsieur Poulain. Who we've been speaking to.
I can speak to this. Actually, our consultants are with us.
Oh, okay, I did not know.
And they'll be leading us through the
Perfect.
update
Then I'll
on
pass
the.
it to our consultant.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Everyone again. My name is Adriana, for anybody I haven't met in person or anybody who's watching. I'm the project manager for this project, which is made up of a team of Landscape and SGL, another consulting firm. And I'm here tonight to provide council with an update on our progress, what we heard and what we subsequently amended from the March consultation events, and what the project next steps are. So I hope you've all had time to read the red line revision that we put out, so it will be easy to track what we did from the draft to this one, and also the engagement summary, what we heard and how we use those comments. Next slide, please. Just a quick reminder about the purpose of the project. We are doing an update of your official plan as well, following that of your zoning bylaw. Next, please. So this is the amount of and sort of the task completed. So we did start in June 2024. The consultant team came up and we did a tour around in June 2024 on June 18th. We prepared the draft public engagement plan from there. We did a document review and analysis of the background planning documents. There is a whole slew of those from the province and from your policy documents internally as well. We held a pre-consultation meeting with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing on July 8th, 2024. And then we proceeded to gather the mapping data and all those information sets. So a lot of the layers that you see in your schedules, a lot of those data sets actually come from the province. So we began that process. We prepared a draft issues identification report. So using those steps to date, the policy review, the tour, the discussions with staff, we prepared this draft issues identification report. So these reports, as they were released, were published on the website for public consumption. Then we started to draft the official plan itself using those issues and your existing official plan. We reviewed the draft with your pack on February 25th, 2025. And then in March, we came and we did this consultation extravaganza for a couple days up here, so March 26th and 27th. We had an Indigenous consultation meeting on April 2nd. Then we had an Agriculture Advisory Committee meeting and workshop on April 2nd and the 29th. So we kind of advised them what we needed to do with them. And then we met, I came up again, we sat down on the 29th. It was lovely, actually. And then today's presentation to council to update you. And then also in the last few weeks of these tasks, because we're kind of moving into the ministry approval process in the final stages of the OP, our staff internally have started to work on the zoning bylaw itself. So next slide, please. So I wanted to mention a few ongoing moving parts. So you'll notice in the draft, there was two yellow highlighted sections. It still spoke to outstanding engagement with your First Nations partners that we wanted to get back. We want to make sure that the wording about some of the cultural heritage stuff and descriptions of the land come from them as opposed to come from us. So we are waiting for those two pieces. Another large part is that OMAFA is releasing a province-wide LEAR. So just a quick reminder of what a LEAR is. It's a land evaluation and area review process. It is what you use to define your prime agricultural land. So the agricultural designation that's on Schedule A in your official plan. Up until now, OMAFA has essentially reviewed them. And so this began in the Greater Golden Horseshoe in the south, where the process was put together. The agricultural systems approach was sort of formed and built in the south, and the LEAR process itself was used. So the guidelines that we used to create a LEAR, they were drafted in 2018. They are currently being updated by the Ministry of Land. But what OMAFA has said after the PPS was released in 2024, which now requires the agricultural systems approach to be used, they want to release the province-wide LEAR so that everybody who is including an agricultural designation, whether you're updating it or creating new, there's still some areas in the province that don't have an agricultural designation identified. Regardless of what you're doing, they want everybody to have the same level of information. They want everybody to have their data set. So I can tell you in my experience using their data set in the past, before it used to be publicly released, then they went through a period where it was available internally to consultant teams. We could use it as a resource, but it wasn't to be publicly released. And now it's going public again to be used as a data set. So the complication with this project, minor for now. It's really a timing issue. They have not released that data set yet. So I have had a call with Ken Mott, who is your OMAFA representative. And he essentially said, West Nipissing is first up. We will be releasing it as soon as we possibly can. We want you to have that data set to inform your agricultural designation before it goes into the Ministry for review, MMH, not OMAFA. And so I said, okay, what do you need us to do? Should we pump the brakes a little bit on submitting to the ministry? How do you want us to do? Because we want the same thing. We want as much data as we can. And he said, listen, I don't know that what you have done so far. I explained our process to get where we are. He's like, I can't say that that's not better than what we have to offer you. And I can tell you from experience doing the agricultural workshop as we did, hugely informative and helpful. So I suspect we actually do have more detailed information than the leader will bring in. That being said, we still want to make sure that the provincial LEAR matches, at least to the point where we can say, this is why we made a modification. This is where the Agricultural Advisory Committee advised something else. So we are in a bit of a holding pattern in terms of getting that LEAR data from them. We are hoping in June. I spoke to Ken a few weeks ago. He had hoped it was a couple weeks. I don't actually know what the timing of that is going to be. So what we have decided is that we will wait. We are still waiting on the First Nations piece anyway. We did just get back the Agriculture Advisory Committee changes, so we have made those updates. We've given you the red line revision of the OP, and you can see what your, and I'll go through it today, but what your Agricultural Advisory Committee advised. And then we pause and we continue to work on the zoning bylaw, use all the information. We don't want to lose momentum, but we'll continue to work on the details of the zoning bylaw as this process happens. So those are the moving parts that we're managing right now. Next slide, please. So we held open houses on March 26 and 27. 27 people showed up in Verner, 12 in Field, and 15 at the Sturgeon Falls one that evening. So I've done a ton of these. It was actually a really great turnout. So your people are engaged and helpful, and I thought there was a lot of great conversations that happened there. We did receive 7 additional emails and comments, including comments from the mayor, the Peabody Cottagers Association, and West Nipissing Sudbury East Federation of Agriculture. So all of these things helped. The agricultural comments were also discussed at the Agricultural Advisory Committee. Next slide, please. So what we heard, the shoreline, we had great discussions about your shoreline and the waterfront. Were our policies going far enough? What actually complies with the PPS? What are we doing with at-capacity lakes? Those types of issues. There was an ask for a need for clearer language on the minimum new waterfront sizes, and then concerns about the additional residential units. And that led to actually excellent discussions across the board, including legal, to get some opinions there. So what we are doing with ARUs, because they don't necessarily need to be spoken to in the official plan. The concern with ARUs from an approval perspective is the impact on the neighbors, impact on a receiving water body. And so those types of provisions that can control those impacts are best dealt with at the zoning bylaw stage. So we've carried all of that conversation into the next stage. Next slide, please. So with your agricultural area designation, we did make significant increases to it. So your existing is about 6,200 hectares. The proposed is about 1,200 hectares. So we've added approximately 5,586 hectares to the agricultural designation proposed. Remember, we're still in draft, but this has been vetted by your Agricultural Advisory Committee. So that represents approximately 6% of your land base in Nipissing. So some of the things that we discussed were concerns with the impact on development rights and lot creation versus sort of land quality. There's always a great discussion that happens about rock outcroppings, and this isn't great for actually, farming and growing crops and all those kind of things. So we had those great discussions. Your Agricultural Advisory Committee, by the way, that was one of the best and most fulsome discussions I've had, where everybody understood the assignment and everybody dug in, and we had great conversations and decisions were made. So there wasn't a lot of, okay, I'll check into it. Okay, we'll look into it. That your advisory committee was really informed. And so they helped us to comprehensively refine what the draft is. So next slide, please. So you'll see on this slide the sort of gray brown, sorry, it's pretty light. So say top right corner, you'll see that color represents lands that we had proposed in the draft. And after our Agricultural Advisory Committee meeting, we have removed it from our recommendation. And then the light green areas on the map show the areas that the Agricultural Committee actually asked to include in the lands based on local knowledge and land improvements, those kind of things. So in the absence of doing a full-blown LEAR that can look at things like infrastructure improvements to land, and that increases the score of the land, and therefore you would include it, whereas the soil level itself, the soil data may not indicate that, but local improvements, somebody has been a good farmer for the last 20 years and that land is workable and is in use. So your Agricultural Advisory Committee helped us refine the draft even farther, and so you can see the results of that conversation. Next, please. So our First Nations engagement. So on April 2, we met with Doki and Nipissing First Nations. They had comments about the environment section, which is 1.6.3. Also about protecting archaeological resources. That one's really, really important in terms of local knowledge and history, which was really great. So we updated 6.4.1. And so the outstanding items we have with them is that to provide those introductory remarks in section 1.5, so that yellow highlighted section. We would like their policy suggestions around arts and culture as it relates directly to First Nations art in section 5.1.5, and then investigating First Nations historical and cultural mapping to potentially share with staff here. So that discussion is ongoing. I have actually not seen the data layer, and there's been some really great discussion about, is this a layer that's most appropriate to the public? Is this a layer most appropriate to be kept internally and inform staff as they get a development application? So we're not quite sure yet. Those are the items that are examined. Next, please. So with the official plan then, we are waiting on the First Nations contributions. Hopefully we will receive OMAFA leader data. I'm really hoping, I can't say for sure, but that is my hope. Then we will provide that revised draft to you again. So hopefully these are small enough changes that we can put them on the screen and show you exactly what we did. This won't require you to go through the whole document again. Then we will revise the submitted draft and submit to the ministry for comment. Now, the ministry's response about the process is that you will receive comments at the discretion of the ministry. My read on that is we may not receive comments in 90 days, and that to me is a green light that you carry forward. So in their discretion, if we haven't heard or been asked to wait in that 90 days, then we carry on with the next step. So what happens is you wait the 90 days, then you advertise for your statutory public meeting open house, and we hold that. And then we will present the final revised draft to you from there. So the intent here is that any changes are smaller and smaller as we go, to the point where when we update you, they're pretty simple to understand. And you know, it might be some small thing that has been caught or another robust discussion that has happened, but that will come back to you. And then we submit the adopted plan, adopted by you, to MMAH for approval. So the next steps with the zoning bylaw project, we've used the staff markup. So your staff is really great at these. These are the people that use your zoning bylaw all the time, every day. Sam has done an exceptional job of tracking things that either are confusing or there's been a discrepancy or all those things. That great planners do that. They make notes all through their books. So she has provided that to us. We have that in-house, and so our planners have been working on updating that in a red line, so you won't get a brand new document. Your zoning bylaw is to be updated as opposed to a new document like your OP. So you will see the red line, you can see the changes that have been made, and hopefully that's an easier process to go through. It's a lot of information, it's a lot to consider. So then we'll present that to the PAC with that red line. And I'm envisioning this, we haven't talked about it specifically, but I'm envisioning this as it's an actual working session is going through the red line. And then we'll revise that red line version based on PAC comments. And then we'll present that to council, go to the statutory public meeting. So as I said before, the timing of the statutory open house and meeting for the official plan is a little bit in flux. If we can combine that with statutory public meeting for the zoning bylaw, we will try to do that just to keep everybody, momentum moving. We're not delaying the project with, statutory meeting requirements and all those things. Also, I think it's lovely for your public to be able to come in at one time and have this robust discussion. So, and then council hopefully will approve the amended and consolidated zoning bylaw. So that's our next steps with both of those projects. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
We will open to council. Anybody have any questions or comments? Jose, you there?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bonjour, madame. Do you think in the future there's a possibility that there would be a provincial policy statement for the south and the north?
I wish I could say, through the chair, sorry. I wish I could say yes. It's doubtful. My read of what's happening in the province is Ring of Fire is about to get a great deal of attention and a great deal of policy opening up in the north, and I think that's where the focus will stay. There doesn't seem to be a great deal of concern of the obvious differences for north and south in the policy requirements. What we do, and we focus on the north, we write a lot of official plans for the north. We prefer to do it that way. And actually the reason we brought SGL on is because they're a more urban planning firm than we are. So we wanted your city center like Sturgeon to have that look from an urban firm. But For us in the north, we try to make it as flexible and compliant as we can at the same time. Your official plan, I don't know why you would bother, but if you've ever read an official plan from the south, even in Muskoka, it's vastly different. So there are most of what we have in your official plan we have to cover. We don't have a choice with the PPS. And the rest of the time, we try to allow you to have discretion through your zoning bylaw and your staff expertise, and so you can apply the local stuff. There are some things we simply don't have a choice about, but I don't believe there is going to be a second PPS in there. Just my single opinion in the big wide world of planning.
It was never the idea that since you're there in that field, there was never any discussion about that higher up or?
No, it's really interesting. The north is as the north is in planning as it is in the rest of the considerations. Everyone recognizes that it's a different animal. It just doesn't get the same level of attention.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Madam Mayor?
Hi, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. My first question is in regards to the engagement summary. You've included notes from an email sent by me on February 27th. The PAC meeting was on February 25th, and we were informed at that meeting that as members of the PAC, we were to submit any further questions or comments. So I'm a little confused why an internal email sent as my role in my role on the PAC has been shared as part of the public engagement, because the draft plan wasn't released until a full week after this email was sent. And so it was done in my role as PAC. I don't see any other comments from PAC members on here. So I'm a little confused why an internal email is shared.
Through the chair. I would say if we had received any other comments from PAC members, we would have absolutely included it. I thought your comments were important, and it's important to be in the project record to recognize the changes that we could make and the feedback we got. So PAC members, from my perspective in acting, it was not an internal document in terms of internal confidential. It was a working document, and this is a public process. So that's why it was included. I apologize if it shouldn't have been.
Okay, are there minutes from the PAC meetings that have been held that have been presented to council for their review?
No.
So any of the discussions or outcomes of the PAC meetings haven't been shared with council?
Through the chair. No.
Okay, is there a reason for that?
To the chair again. Yes, go ahead.
I can, if you will recall, Madam, through you, Mr. Chair, the meeting that the PAC had was not an actual meeting. There were no resolutions. It was a working session.
Okay, but the PAC is an advisory committee to council, same with the Agricultural Advisory Committee. So one would think that the outcomes of those meetings and the notes taken at those meetings would be provided for council in their decision-making on policy.
I will defer to staff on the direction on that. If that's the direction moving forward, if we can formalize the process, I guess, a little more, what I do is I take copious notes and we make the changes as it's seen in the working group, and then we move forward.
Okay, and what is council's role in making adjustments to the official plan as it's been presented?
Can you clarify for me? In what way?
Well, you're presenting a draft document, which is a policy, and council is the legislative decision makers on matters of planning and policy through legislation. So at some point before this document is sent to the ministry for their approval, one would think that council would have an opportunity to review the document in detail, ask any questions, bring up any parts of the policy that they may not agree with or may want to see changes to as the decision makers on policy, and have that fulsome discussion. So far, we're 8 months into this process, and council has yet to be consulted on this document whatsoever.
You want me to answer that as a question?
I would like to know when council will have the opportunity to give direction, as is our legislative role.
Chair. So I would disagree. I think you've been consulted all along. I think there were 4 hours in the March meetings that were set along specifically for council. to attend. We were hoping to have robust discussions and those sort of, we can't, if you bring quorum, it's a public meeting. So we wanted you to have the opportunity to speak with us, ask those questions and go through. So PAC is a delegated committee. They have been consulted throughout. This is I think our third, and then our 3 public engagement meetings. And we are open to all comments, questions, concerns, and we welcome them. So I'm not sure what else you would like.
Well, what I don't understand is that on many levels, we discuss policies and bylaws at this table as a group, as a body, together all the time. And we work through the bits and pieces that people have questions about. Having individual consultation sessions is not the way that council functions. Council debates policies for the municipality in an open session. If Councillor Ferrin has a question, I want every person at this table to hear that question, and then I want every person at this table to hear the same answer. And if Councillor Nicol has a suggestion, I want everybody to hear that suggestion, and I want everybody to hear what the pros and cons are implementing that suggestion. So there had been statements made in previously that council was presented with both the engagement summary and the issues identification report. And I've looked back at the meetings where we have discussed the official plan, and while we have been given information and updates, neither of those documents were ever presented to council before they went public. Okay, they were not put on an agenda in a meeting where we could ask questions, or we could say, yes, that's a great engagement strategy, or no, that's not a great engagement strategy. Yes, this is a perfect issues identification report. No, you know what? I think we need to add this, that, or the other thing. And the fact is that council should have some kind of say in the development of policy in the municipality. That is our legislated role. And so far,
100%.
and so far, it has not been done. As far as the participation of the Planning Advisory Committee and the Agricultural Advisory Committee, as is indicated in their names, they are committees that are advisory to council. So the meetings that have been done in regards to the official plan with those 2 committees, has council ever received a report back from either of those 2 committees that outline the issues that were discussed with recommendations? Because an advisory committee advises council. They do not make decisions on behalf of council.
So through the chair, if I could sort of summarize, I think we have a simple difference in opinion about how this typically goes down. I'm not saying it can't be done. Sure, it can. I've never actually seen it done the way that you were suggesting. Okay. I think in all of the updates to council that we have done, I have tried to communicate those things. All of the documents are public, like your comments by email, posted on the website. Council has been advised of that. So I don't know what your internal process is for picking up those documents and having to read through and discussing it, those kind of things. But the same answer is that you brought up at the public meeting. It is not the most effective way to ask people that do not work in land use policy all the time to go through line by line. I would suggest that you hired a consulting firm for a reason. We do this for a living. And so the policies, we take all of our experience, put them together, and the hope is that we have a great deal of robust consultation, both from council and from the public. So if there is a way that you need us to consult differently or council, if that's council's direction, happy to do it.
Super. So just to add to the conversation through you, Mr. Chair, understanding the mayor's thought on council having the ability to put their stamp on the draft before it gets to MMAH, I think now that all the comments and concerns and information that have been collected through the public consultation process, and we've got a draft OP, it'd be an opportune time now for council to potentially have a working session to go through the document and for council to address some of the internal concerns that, or the ideas or suggestions that everyone as a corporate body has. So if it is council's wish to proceed with a working session of council to address the official plan prior to it getting to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. If it's council's wish, we can certainly organize that and have that type of working session so that those concerns be addressed, because it is a policy document that belongs to council that ultimately will be approved. So I'm just, through you, Mr. Chair, throwing it out there that if council wishes, we can certainly organize a working session in the next couple weeks. And understanding that OMAFRA are now kind of delaying the process a bit, it might give us a bit more time to get that done and not delay our process.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Gagné?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'd appreciate that working session because there are a few items in the current proposal or the proposed plan that I have questions, and technically there is no answers to some of those questions. For example, shoreline residential to having 3 living quarters, and I think the Clear Lake cottages recommend no more than 2. And there's no answer in the document that I saw that we will recommend 2 or stay at 2 or increase to 3. So they're kind of those. So I'd be interested in that working session. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? Councilor Barron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I would too. Thank you.
So I myself would just like to make a final comment. I understand where Madam Mayor is coming from. However, my thought was this was the purpose of meeting tonight so we have a planning advisory committee. We have committees in place for all sorts of things, and we meet with stakeholders or we meet with professionals to provide us with this information that then we bring it to council. And my thought process was that's what we were doing tonight. That's how I see it. I don't see them moving forward or without our permission as council. I think the information that they gathered all along was to provide it to council so that now we do meet like Conseil Gagné, Conseil Pedrin, I believe everybody here at the table would like to see is moving forward, that now we have the information, we have our committee, they meet with the committee, they provide their information to the committee, and then we move forward. And then they provide it to council. If we wanted the other way around, then what's the point of having a committee, right? The point of having a committee is for 3 or 4 of us to be on that committee to get advice from the professionals and provide that advice to council. Now that's what we've done. They provided it to us. Now as a council, then yes, we may meet and sit and decide, okay, here's our next step. Here's the questions that we have. Here's what we're looking at. And that's how we're going to move forward. I agree with Madam Mayor that we need to decide this as a whole, but I don't think it was skewed from the start. I think what we were doing, that's my thought process. The whole process was following what the committee was going to advise, and they provided us with the information to the committee. I think the problem is maybe in the wording that's in there, that the information you're providing to council, maybe it should have been that the information you were providing was to the committee to provide to council or whatnot. You know what I mean? I think that's how, and I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Mayor, that's how she reads it, is you're providing information to the council. Well, technically, no. What we met the first few times was with the committee. So you provide information to the committee to provide to council. And now that it's being provided to council, we're going to sit, have a discussion, whether it's a day or a couple hours or whatever it is. So does that make sense in a roundabout way? As clear as I can make it seem like mud?
That makes sense.
Yes. Any other comments or questions? So if I can take from this is that we will ask staff to set up a date at some point in time so that we can have a conversation about this further and move forward before it goes to MMH. Is that correct? Conseil Gagné.
Just to make sure, is the committee going to review and make recommendations on the suggestions that were made at the public consultation? Like the example I shared about shoreline residential, I didn't see what recommendation was made by the planning committee. It's not documented that, you know what, yeah, we will do just 2 living quarters at shoreline residential. We won't increase to 3. I didn't see that in the document, so unless I missed it, but is that coming up soon or?
Yes?
I can help you with that. So
Thank you.
what we're doing with the additional residential units in the shoreline and elsewhere, it's best dealt with in the zoning bylaw because you want very specific provisions to make sure that you're preventing impact. And so that's best done with the tools of setback, coverage, those types of things. So the current thinking is that in the shoreline, we will move forward with the idea of one as of right. And anything else other than that would require an amendment to the zoning bylaw as it does now. So that's the current thinking, but it's not in the official plan because it's more appropriately dealt with in the zoning bylaw. So it's not in that document to
Okay.
see.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well,
Want to say that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I understand that because then you don't have to do an official plan amendment if you want to change something. That's great, but I'd still like,
On the ag
like
land.
we said a while ago, a meeting just on that topic and because we just got that a few days ago. So that's my thoughts.
may I ask if is it possible that if there are concerns, general concerns, so that I can hit the highlights? So we're talking about, otherwise we need a day. So just food for thought to go through the document itself, if there are specific concerns that I can focus on, or do you want me to run through the whole document? The changes that have made, the thinking behind it. So we can certainly come forward with something, but I don't want to make a misstep here. So I would like to give you what you need, if that could be provided to somebody, so that we can do exactly what it is that you need to move forward.
Absolutely. I think if, I'm not sure who to send your request to. If you do read through it and you have any questions that want clarification, I don't know if we have anybody in general for this.
I think that Ms. Bullock could be the
Okay.
receiver of
Okay.
that.
Sorry, if I may, we do have an email set up for this project, so it's officialplan@westnipissing.ca. If you can send them through to that, then there's a couple of us that will get that email, so we have it kind of saved to the right folder.
Okay. So if you have any questions or concerns about the official plan, let's send them to there. Obviously, prior to a couple days or several days or to a week before we do decide to meet, to give them a chance to look into your concerns, and we'll move forward from there.
And Mr. Chair, just a point of clarification, would it be council's wish to wait to have that working session once we've received comments from our First Nation neighbors and once we've received the more detailed information from OMAFRA? That way we have all the information for council to consider. And once we have all of that, then I think council would be in a better position to lead us through the process prior to us submitting a draft OP to MMAH.
I personally think so, yes.
And we said, and through you, Mr. Chair, you mentioned that OMAFRA information might be coming in June.
Best hopes. For June, yes. So if this could, just a caveat about that, the longer we wait for that, the longer we wait to submit to MMAH. And that is just a draft. It's not the final. So MMA, that's the draft that MMAH will comment on. They need that 90-day window. Then you advertise for your statutory public meeting, which is another 30 days in this process. So it's 120 days, just project schedule information for you. It's 120 days between that process. We're considering waiting. So just consider that in your timing for moving forward, and just advising what the issues are that you see in the document, so we can, really have a great discussion about that.
Madam Mayor?
I have another question. Under Section 26 of the Planning Act, it has a timeline associated with the update, creating a new official plan or updating a full official plan as opposed to an amendment. So there will be another set of open houses.
The ministry, so I've confirmed with the ministry, Sharon, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I've reached out to the ministry because there's so much in flux with the province right now, saying this is my assumption, this is what we've done. We're coming up to the point where we want to submit a draft to you. These are the next 7 steps as I envision them. Please clarify. They do want another open house, a statutory open house and a statutory public meeting. So that's where we have the opportunity to potentially have a statutory public meeting combined with the zoning bylaw. It's just going to, if the timing blocks can line up, we're not sure yet. So that's where we will advertise for the open house at the 120, at the 90-day mark. Hold it at about approximately 120 days. Following that with the statutory public meeting. That's what the ministry would like to see.
And the statutory public meeting required under section 26, when is that to happen?
After the.
Because there are two statutory public meetings, correct?
I'm
One
not
under
sure.
section 26 and one under section 17. Like
17 applies to what versus 26?
26 is about updating the official plan. So before revising the official plan, hold a special meeting of council open to the public to discuss the revisions that may be required, which hasn't been done yet. And then under section 17 is this statutory public meeting for the final approval of the plan.
Okay, different, yes. So the section 26 meeting, and oftentimes this is slightly different. Section 26 meetings in a lot of the official plans that I've done elsewhere happens right at the front of the meeting, and that's how you inform your public of the process that's happening. But we do have a series of open houses and the advisory committee. So in terms of consultation, just to ensure you have been doing this for 20 years, the consultation piece about how to do this well. I know it doesn't seem like that sometimes, but what we have done to let everybody know, to make it public, to do all those things is appropriate and typical. And so when we do the statutory open house, it will happen at the 120-day mark, followed by, I don't really expect that there's going to be a great deal of change between those 2 points. There almost never is. And so, 2 weeks to a month out, in case there is some difference between the open house and the statutory public meeting, then we can make adjustments there. So those can happen pretty close together if the schedule allows. If we need more time, we'll push it a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? That's it. I'd like to thank you for attending, clarifying, I'm sure, a lot for everyone.
I'm glad. We have a great night.
Thank you. Back to you, Madam.
Thank you very much. Next, we have 5.2, Social Services and Health Committee. For that, I will pass it to the Chair, Councillor Restles, who I'm sure will pass it right back to me quite quickly. It'll be a very quick volley.
That's right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So under Social Services Health Committee, we have one item, and the item is the Mayor's report on the Leaders Table of the Canadian Centre on Substance Abuse and Addictions. And as we recall, a number of months back, there was a request made by Madam Mayor to attend this session out of province. And we all agreed that it was a good idea to have our leader attend the session. So making this meeting go a lot longer than it should, I'll quickly volley it back to Madam Mayor to provide an update to all of council on that event that she attended.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I am reporting back on the Canadian Centre of Substance Use and Addiction summit that I attended in Lethbridge, Alberta from Sunday, April 13th to Wednesday, April 16th. When the invitation came out, I was asked to invite another member from our community who works within the sphere of mental health, addictions, etc. And so it was my pleasure to invite Lynn Perreault, who is the program manager of the Alliance Center, with me to attend. We were very fortunate. As you all know, we are involved with the Planet Youth Program, which is an upstream prevention model aimed at helping young people by creating strong communities to avoid substance use or decrease substance use among our youth. Well, the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit had received some funding from the Government of Canada for a microgrant program. So they kindly provided $1,000 each to both Lynn and I to help offset our travel costs, as they saw the benefit for us in attending this in the program and in collaboration with the Planet Youth Program. Before attending, I reached out to several community partners, including DSAB, the OPP, West Nipissing General Hospital, to collect stats from our community so I could go in really knowing what the crisis, what the issue looks like here. And all of our partners were very helpful in providing data and information for us to take. That included data from the paramedic services, hospital emergency room presentations, homelessness and addiction statistics from DSAB, crime and arrest statistics. We also have our initial data set from our Planet Youth program, which is a survey both district-wide, so Nipissing, but also for West Nipissing itself on substance use among youth. It's a survey done by grade 10 students in our high schools. And so we have our initial set, which was done, I'm trying to think, I think early in the year, in September, and then collated. The program there included mayors, deputy mayors, and councillors from Penticton, BC, Timmins, Ontario, the region of Queens, Nova Scotia, Cobourg, Ontario, New Westminster, BC, Fredericton, New Brunswick, Lethbridge, Alberta, Charlottetown, PEI, Red Deer, Alberta, Prince George, BC, Cambridge, Ontario, Kensington, PEI, Thompson, Manitoba, Duncan, BC, and Powell River, BC. And it also included, for each of those mayors, they were also invited to bring a service provider from within their community. So it was really interesting. An interesting combination of kind of boots on the ground workers and then municipal politicians and employees who are kind of responsible for developing policies. So the conference opened on the 13th with a presentation on Canada's guidance on alcohol and health. Because when we talk about substance use, we're talking about substance use across the spectrum, including tobacco, alcohol, cannabis, and then other drugs and substances as well. And there was an interesting discussion around municipal alcohol policies and recommendations from Health Canada on how municipalities can develop policies for safer alcohol use within their facilities and properties. And then the next day we dove in. The summit really is more of a working group than it is your general conference. So we'd have a presentation or two, and then we'd work with groups at our table of 6 to 8 people speaking about specific issues. There's a whole list of different interventions, including health and well-being, community safety, upstream prevention, which is like our Planet Youth stuff, data monitoring, occupational substance use issues, and education and awareness. And I guess the only other thing I'd like to share is that a guest speaker for the dinner one night was Dr. Sharon Burry, who is a Canadian senator, and a pediatrician that specializes in behavior learning and emotional challenges and mental illness among adolescents and youth. And over the course of her career in Windsor, Ontario, she was very involved with a lot of the kind of upstream prevention, the community building that really is within the sphere of what we can do municipally. And so it was very interesting to hear her speak, but I was also very honored that myself, Mayor Michelle Boileau of Timmins, and Dr. Burry had the opportunity to lunch together, just the three of us, and we had some really great conversations around some of these upstream preventions as well. So I just would like to say thank you again to council. It was a really useful session. I've spoken to Lynn since then, and she got a lot out of it as well. But she was also a great resource for me because she's acutely aware of the situation within our community, but also the resources that are available. And I think she got some information and ideas to bring home for her clinic and for the community at large as well. Thank you.
Excuse me, thank you for that update, Madam Mayor. I'll open the floor if there's any questions from anyone around the table. Not seeing any. That's the sign of a thorough update when there's no questions. I just wanted to share, I appreciate I appreciate council supporting you going to this event. And also, I think it's great that we're partnering with service providers and getting a good understanding from both, I'll say both sides of the table, politically and technically within our community, to see, to get a good understanding of the issues, especially, in some cases with our young people and what they're faced with, and how we can work together to support one another to work on this issue within our community. So that I'll say thank you for that update, and the volley continues. From the chair, back to you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Resto, Mr. Chair. 5.3 Community Services Committee. Councillor Rivard is our chair for Community Services.
Yeah, so tonight we have a CN Railway Trans-Canada Trail update. Pass that over, I believe, to Mr. Barr.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for letting me be remote. So on this one, if you've read the memo, this has been a very long file for West Nipissing. As you see in the memo, it kind of started with us around the 2013 mark and kind of originated with, with River Valley and the Dustin River Valley. We helped, assisted MOE to help the residents of River Valley, even though it wasn't our land, by providing some dust suppression to make it a little bit more pleasant in the community. We were trying to find ways to permanently rectify that situation. And as the memo states, we indicated that we would be looking at wondering whether, if I can take a step back, this was originally contemplated when CN abandoned that rail. It was originally contemplated as the Trans-Canada Trail, if you remember back in the millennial 2000 and so forth. So the Trans-Canada Trail acquired what's called beneficial ownership and beneficial rights to the actual abandoned land. They chose to go a different route and they didn't really maintain it. And so that's where we came in with respect to the River Valley portion. Then the individuals at CN indicated that, listen, we're trying to find beneficial ownership or even transfer the entire line from Field Township all the way to, is that James Township? I don't have it in front of me, but all the way to the end of our the West Nipissing border. And so we brought that to council as a community development thing, as a multi-purpose trail, as something that could be really interesting for walking, for quads, biking, and obviously snowmobiling. And so the council of the day thought it would be a great idea, it'd be a great asset to keep and that we can use for our, for healthy living and creating opportunities here in West Nipissing. And it's been just a very long delay. No delays by CN. Trans-Canada Trail just was not getting back to anybody. They had retained lawyers. We got into an agreement with CN, as you can see, but we never were able to close that deal back in then. And we would try occasionally, and it was kind of just a stale-dated project. Well, lo and behold, I guess about 3-4 weeks ago, we got approached. There's a new director or vice president at Trans-Canada Trails who was much more participatory and active, and so there's the issue came back. So we held a meeting. Melanie, Miss Ducharme, myself, and the players at Trans-Canada and CN, and indicated that we'd be willing to go back. But first, because the project has been so long, that we thought we would bring it back to council just to reintroduce it, because it certainly wasn't this council, and reintroduce the issue. As you can see, we did sign an agreement with CN, but we just wanted to confirm going forward that that we're still following through with what we were committing. I don't know, Ms. Ducharme, if I'm missing anything.
Sounds pretty comprehensive to me.
Thanks. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll leave it and hopefully be able to ask a few or answer a few questions.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. I see. Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question would be, is this understanding, is it for beneficial interest or is it for purchasing?
It's
Right on.
beneficial, through you, thank you for the question. It's a beneficial ownership. So basically, all the rights, privileges for use, but basically we would own title to it. And I'd suggest that that could be a little bit more costly as well with respect to the preps in terms of land transfer and surveying and so forth, because you're talking about many kilometers. So this gives us all of the perks without perhaps the financial liability that would come with it.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you for the excellent staff report. You indicate in your report that it's mile 260 to mile 279, so one can assume there's 19 miles of trail there that we would have beneficial interest on.
I don't have that in front of me, but if that's what's indicated, it seems short. But it basically goes from around the Crystal Falls area, all the way past River Valley on that rail, right to the end of the border of our town going through. So that's basically the land in question, or the properties in question.
May I continue? Where are you, Mr. Chair? Thank you. The agreement that you provided dated from May 1st, 2014, are the terms that are being discussed the same or similar to what was proposed in 2014?
I believe they are, yes. We haven't really talked about that. We talked about it being high level, but this is basically what the agreement would look like, yes.
And one more question, if I may, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Let's assume 19 miles of trail, is there an expectation that there will be any kind of ongoing maintenance or upkeep costs to the municipality? So the acquisition won't cost us anything, but do you see anything significant that would be a financial burden?
There is the potential, obviously, there's rail trusses and so on, but one of the mitigating factors is that's a trail, and we would then be subletting to user groups. And the snowmobile groups have been maintaining that, and really they've been treating us like the beneficial owners, because we said, it's just a matter of signing it. And so we've actually been providing documentation to them on an annual basis, assisting them to get grants and so forth. So, but yes, obviously it's an acquisition of a lot of area, and there is some things that we would have to pursue a little bit ahead of time, or a little bit before conducting the full transfer, to ensure that the municipality's interests are protected from a cost and liability perspective.
Thank you. My next question was about liability. Is there a way to manage liability for users on that if it is municipally owned?
We have insurance. We have to not be negligent. We have to make sure that there's a certain amount of maintenance that's happening. So I guess I wouldn't suggest to you that it is, it comes just without some effort. It is an enhancement of an asset that we have, and and so we would have to look at it as such. But there is that. When we were looking at it, and when past councils were looking at it, we probably had more. I was probably younger and had more rose-colored glasses. But you can see it being a walking trail, with stations and with with the signage, and with this isn't a this year project, but certainly it's a project that we would look forward. I can tell you that no money has been put into it from a CN perspective, nor did TransCanada Trails put any money into it. So the main custodian of it has been the snowmobile group.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Laravière.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the snowmobile, for a little bit of information, the Snowmobile Association been working with the logging industry. It was benefit to them in the summertime, and it was a benefit for the snowmobile industry in the wintertime. So they would supply wood, if there's a washout, we're working hand in hand. It wouldn't cost an arm and a leg, let's say, to any association, and it got the province made this trail a T trail, a top trail, which is the best trails that you can have in the province when it's a top trail, and it's great. There's potential, to link the communities. It's for stations or whatever a person wants to rehabilitate on that line. But there is definitely maintenance to it, but the snowmobile trail, most of them will take care of it with chainsaws or whatnot, just to brush it. So I don't think it's much, and the trail is already existing. It's not like we're taking property and we have to create it. It's already created. It's already in motion since 1995. So that being said, I'm all in favor for this project. It's good for all the communities on that line, and it links us to Sudbury. So all the business from Sudbury comes in, and vice versa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Pellerin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moi, juste par curiosité, peut-être que le conseiller Larabie peut me répondre ça. Y a-t-il un pont sur cette 19 000-là pour la femme?
Ah oui.
Oui, il y a
Oui.
quelques ponts. Il y a un pont
Yeah.
qui va autour du chemin 64. Tu peux le voir juste quand tu quittes Field.
Oui.
Et il y a des ruisseaux entre Field et River Valley aussi. Alors oui, il y a des ponts. Il y a un pont qui traverse aussi, je pense, la rivière Sturgeon à un point. Alors.
Et aussi, si je peux, j'ai travaillé, j'étais dans l'association de snowmobile, j'ai travaillé avec l'association et puis le militaire pour réhabiliter le pont de la rivière Tomagamé, juste à River Valley, du Skelpac, Lucas Park. C'est les ingénieurs de la force canadienne qui sont venus nous le construire avec la donation du bois local de Goulard Lumber et puis avec leur équipement. Et c'est tous les ingénieurs qui ont venu puis pratiquer. À la place de blower les fonds, il l'a construit, il a fait des guardrails. Encore aujourd'hui, c'est efficace.
OK, merci.
Merci. Councillor Saint-Louis.
Thank you. Just a quick question. I know as you're heading north out of River Valley, there is a bridge just past River Valley. That bridge is destroyed. We would not be expected to fix that bridge to accommodate the snowmobilers or anything like that, correct?
I'm not sure what bridge, the
It's
rail line?
Yeah, it's just a little bridge, Mr.
75
Fargo.
feet.
Yeah, it's just a little bridge as soon as you hit the 805, and you can see it off the road. And what happens now is the snowmobilers and the four-wheelers just come off, go onto the main road, the 805, and then go back onto the rail bed. So I would, because I mean, that bridge is completely destroyed and it would be, I'm sure, extremely expensive to fix, but I would assume we wouldn't have to fix it, correct?
No, with beneficial ownership rights, we'd have the right to do and to not do and to just barricade it off and to remove it. I don't want to get into bridges in River Valley right now. It's maybe a little too soon. But yeah, I think that we would have the ability, like anything, to ensure safety and declare assets unsafe.
Perfect, thank you.
Councillor Gagné.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just for clarification, are we talking, we'd have access to the rail bed from Jocko Point all the way past to our River Valley boundary?
No, through you, it would start at Crystal Falls. The actual Nipissing First Nation have rights and own actually the rail bed all the way up to about Crystal Falls. So when Field Township starts is basically where it would start. East of Field Township, that is under the control of I think Nipissing First Nation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Looks like that's it. So, just by a show, we just bring this back next meeting. This is just an update, right? Or do we actually have to vote on something like this?
Well, we just need to direct staff if they're supposed to bring a resolution back through you, Mr. Chair.
All right, by a show of hands, would you like to direct staff to bring back a resolution that we would move forward with this acquisition?
I wouldn't mind voting on it right now.
Well, right on. We can move. I'll hand it back over to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Now, we're moving on. We have another committee this evening. We will everybody gets to turn this evening almost. I will pass the floor to Councillor Pederin, and I will not chair his portion of the meeting this evening.
Oh, you can. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I will pass it to Ms. Enning, who will deal with the health and safety water and the Alberta water program.
So, this is just an update. I'm in the process of applying for this health and safety water stream funding that's offered through the province. And we're applying for the burner water line project because it's a very important project to this municipality. But I did want to just make council aware of the fact that this funding is not 100% funding. So in the event that we are successful, we will have to be looking at some financing of covering the 27% of the cost of this that we are going to have to pay, which could be likely upwards of $4 to $6 million. That said, I do think this is an important project and we should still be moving forward with this. Hopefully we will be successful in this funding.
Thank you. Any questions? I've got one. Since this would be a provincial application, in the past talking to MP Serré, he told me that most likely when they get the provincial grant, most likely the federal will follow and maybe not match, but would they get involved in that too? Is this in the plans?
I can't. Did you want to speak that one?
I will just say that this funding pool is actually it's a provincial, the provinces is organizing the pool, but there is federal funds that are part of this pool that's getting distributed through this fund. But as council's aware, this is it's a big project, and it certainly would be one of those things that council could continue to lobby other levels for funding us.
Well, we're just curious if it's part of that application. Is it in the back of our minds? If we get it, do we go see the federal and get some?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I know you're chairing, Monsieur Pellerin. Of course, we wouldn't want to pay that share, which could be as high as $3.5 to $4 million. So certainly we can look at an economic development bent or whatever to see if we can stack on another one. But at this time, when we make an application for that, the most conservative is that we're entertaining a fairly large risk to the municipality in terms of finance, but a big boost and a big benefit to West Nipissing in terms of the result, which was obviously clean water to Verner. Or easier to treat water, definitely. So, but there's no guarantee that we can stack it, but certainly that would be our intent to start looking at other pools and other levels of government.
Oh, I got one more, then I'll go to you, Councillor Lagabe. was just wondering, is the agreement with is it CN or CP we're dealing with? CPR?
That's CP.
CP, okay. Is there an agreement in place with CP to run the line?
That's being negotiated right now. We do have an agreement in principle, but we're kind of trying to look at lowering the cost and the lease cost.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess for public information, I know that we went to Roma and Mrs. Sermos told us that if we apply, we need to apply right now for grants. It's a new project that's coming out and you need to apply for it. And we had till I think it's for the month of March to apply for it. Did we succeed?
No,
No, they had,
this is what she was referring to, and we do. This is the fund that Miss Kinga Circa was referring to, and this is what's before you now.
Yes, Madam Mayor?
so it is the same program that was launched or officially announced in January at the Roma conference. But because about a week later, we rolled into a provincial election, everything halted at that point until after the election. And then it was about 2 weeks ago that both Ms. Henning and I and whoever else would have received an email that the stream had opened back up again. So there just was a pause in that due to the election.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other questions? Just one last question. The loop that was proposed, I think it was last year, to go from the station to which street there, and to make a loop.
Can I?
No, in Verner, from the plant to, and we'd go under the.
Telefor? Is it?
Sorry, yeah, that's it. And we'd go under the track. That's been put on the back burners.
Right now, we're moving forward with the upgrades to the water tower in Verner.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Next, PFAS testing results.
So this is.
Yeah,
I think everyone can just breathe a sigh of relief. As expected, there is none. They didn't find any trace amounts in the water that was tested. So it was tested for the water in Sturgeon Falls, and there does not appear to be any. And we were actually able to share those results with MECP, who's collecting data for the province on that. So that is now going into their database as well.
Okay. Any questions on that? I've got a question. When was those tests taken? Just out of curiosity.
I have to check the dates. I believe it would have been in March or April. It was recently.
So there was just one sample taken from the river?
There was the raw water coming into the untreated water coming into the plant was tested, as well as the treated water. So we did a test of the treated water and of the raw water. And I believe that there was a couple samples because there's quality control tests done as well on the samples.
And what was the cost on this?
I believe it was approximately $1,000 for the test.
Could we, I'd like to get a copy of the result. Is that possible?
Yeah, that's certainly possible. I can share that.
Okay. No more questions? Okay, back to you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. We're through committee of the whole. We'll move on to item number 6, our regular meeting. 6.1 is our consent agenda.
It is moved by Councillor Larrabee and seconded by Councillor Rastoul. Be it resolved that the consent agenda for council and committee of the whole as of May 20th, 2025 be approved as presented.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Very thank you. Okay, next we move on to 6.2 planning.
It is moved by Councillor Larrabee and seconded by Councillor Rastoul. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-45, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2014-45, to rezone certain lands located on Dovercourt Road from residential 2 and residential 3 to residential 4, shall come in force and take effect on the day it is passed. I'm sorry, I skipped one.
Yeah, I'm like, that's
sorry.
not the right bylaw.
My apologies, they were attached to the back of the consent agenda.
Okay, so we'll withdraw that.
Withdraw that.
And we'll read the.
My apologies.
They were stuck together.
Start that. It is moved by Councillor Rastoul and seconded by Councillor St. Louis. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-44, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2014-45 to rezone certain lands located at 734 Nipissing Street from rural residential to residential exception zone 5 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Rural residential.
Rural is the word. Yes.
Okay, questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Sorry, it was a question.
Okay,
My
I'm sorry.
apologies. I was still reading.
Okay, question, Councillor St. Louis?
Yeah, sorry, that's my own mistake. I'm somewhat confused of what we had discussed at the other meeting, that's why. What are we looking at right now?
So
To go just to
the
residential?
resolutions come forward as confirmatory, not in the negative, but the report that's been provided by the Planning Advisory Committee, which had the public hearing on this item and the next item, it was not recommended by.
But the resolution.
But the resolution still has to be read in the
Yes, okay,
affirmative. That's
Okay, my apologies.
okay. Councillor Rahar?
So it has not been recommended by the PAC.
That's correct.
That's two.
Pardon me?
That's two resolutions.
No, we'll just. Yeah. The planning report's in your packet.
Yeah, it's.
It's what's included in the package.
Madam Mayor, the agenda package should have the planning report that was included as well as a copy of the bylaw.
Okay, and does it have a copy of the resolution from the Planning Advisory Committee?
I don't believe so, no, but the Planning Advisory Committee did not recommend approval of the bylaw.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Russell?
Just for knowledge, if this isn't approved, what's the next step for this final?
Madam
I
Mayor.
know it doesn't get
Yeah, I
approved,
would ask that question for
but for the proponents, what's
Of course. If this application is not approved at council, there is an appeal period for 20 days following the decision of council, after which the applicant, if they wish to resubmit an application, would be able to submit a new zoning amendment application. It would just kind of start back from the beginning.
Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll put it to a vote. All in favor? Okay, that is defeated. And next up is Dovercourt.
It is moved by Councillor Larrabee and seconded by Councillor Rastoul. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-45, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2014-45 to rezone certain lands located at Dovercourt Road from residential 2 and residential 3 to residential 4, shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Okay, so just to clarify, the next two resolutions are in regards to the same property, and they're just two steps along the zoning Also, the package, the planning files in the package. Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Restoul and seconded by Councillor Larrabee. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-46, being a bylaw of the West Nipissing Municipality, to deem lots 18 to 22 on Plan 36M 670 not to be lots on a plan of subdivision pursuant to Section 50 Sub 4 of the Planning Act, shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
You just have 18 to 22, but there's also 4 to 6 on Plan 35. Or are they written as two separate? No,
No, it was missed.
sorry.
That's right.
So they'll just be,
Let's quickly fix that.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
Thanks.
Lots 4 to 6 on Plan 35.
So amended resolution to deem lots 4 to 6 on registered plan 35 and lots 18 to 22 on plan 36M 670 not to be lots on a plan of subdivision.
Madam Clerk, can you just explain briefly deeming bylaw?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. When a lot is created on a plan of subdivision, that lot is considered to be legally and separately conveyable in perpetuity. And the only means, so in this case, because these lots are intended for a single building, in order not to get multiple tax bills and everything, the council has the authority under the Planning Act to basically take away the subdivision approval by deeming them no longer to be lots on a plan of subdivision. So they are now back merged together in one plan.
Okay, thank you very much, just so there's clarity on that. Other questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. And one more item.
It is moved by Councillor Pellerin and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-47, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2014-45 to rezone certain lands located at 592 Rainville Road from rural residential and agriculture 1 to agriculture 1 exception zone 1 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Okay, questions or comments? I'll just ask for the record, this application was seen by the Agricultural Advisory Committee. Yes, it was, and they supported that?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? Councillor Pellerin?
I'm just curious, what does the exceptions give?
It allows an ADU, a second dwelling.
It's allowing them to build a second house on the property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6.4, unfinished business.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Pellerin. Whereas council has considered a non-union compensation report prepared by Pesky and Associates at its special meeting of February the 4th, 2025, and at the meeting of April 1st, 2025. And whereas council agrees with the recommendation in the non-union salary grid, be it resolved that council for the West Nipissing Municipality approves the proposed non-union salary grid.
Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Being that it's 7:54, it's a good time to take a break in between this and that, and I would say let's go through, but there's a lot of items under new business, so I think we would like to take a short recess. So I take a mover and seconder, Councillor Restoul and Councillor St. Louis.
It is moved by Councillor Restoul and seconded by Councillor St. Louis. At approximately 7:54 p.m., a motion was tabled for a 10-minute recess.
Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you.
All right.
Okay, welcome back. We're moving on to 6.5, new business. We're reading the whole proclamation. What do we usually do? Does council want the entire proclamation read, or have you read it in your package?
No, let's give her, actually, no.
Okay, just the resolution.
It is
please,
moved by
Madam Clerk.
Councillor Paladin and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Be it resolved that Council for the West Nipissing Municipality hereby proclaims the week of June 1st to June 7th as Cycling Week.
Thank you. I will see in the last couple of days, we've seen a lot more bicycles and families out on the road, so this is very well timed. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Paladin. Be it resolved that Council for the West Nipissing Municipality hereby proclaims the month of June as Pride Month.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Paladin and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Whereas the month of June is recognized as Pride Month, and whereas the West Nipissing Pride Committee is requesting Council's approval to allow the removal of the Canadian flags at the following locations in order to fly the Pride flag: River Valley Welcome Location, Field Municipal Building, Fire Hall and Library, Verner Municipal Building, corner of Nice Ball and Highway 64, North Minettville Community Center and Fire Hall, and the Cache Bay Community Center. Be it therefore resolved that Council authorizes the temporary removal of the Canadian flags at these locations for the flying of the Pride flag for the month of June, and be it further resolved that Council authorizes the costs associated in the amount of $458 to be covered by the municipality of West Nipissing.
Questions or comments? I have a question. What's the $458 for?
Six Flags. We're going to purchase the pride flags as per their request.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried.
It is moved by Councillor Ferrand, seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas the deadline for submitting ministry delegation requests for the 2025 AMO conference is Friday, May the 30th, 2025, be it resolved that council requests delegations to the following ministries for ongoing concerns and initiatives of the municipality of West Nipissing.
Okay, Mr. Barbeau, are we supposed to have a discussion at this point? Is that the intention?
I would imagine if you want a delegation, that's probably where, given when we receive the request, I think we have to put it in a resolution.
Okay, that's great. So what I'd like to do is we'll open the floor up for suggestions for delegation requests. Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to have a delegation with the Ministry of the MTO. And the subject would be they've just constructed the highway in River Valley, which they've done a great job, except they've left a ditch and there's no sides to the road. So you either stop on the road as soon as the wife opens the door, she goes in the ditch. So it should have been covered. You should have put pipes in there with manholes to cover it like we had before, because this is hurting the businesses in River Valley big time. And so it would only make sense that they were filled up those ditches, putting the pipe in, and this is all. The rest is just super good job.
Okay, I'm just going to let Mr. Barbeau, he waved his hand there at me.
Well, I mean, certainly, yeah, you can meet with the minister on that. I can tell you, though, that I have had discussions with the regional director. Obviously, we're speaking on a variety of different things. I've indicated the concerns, and what he's indicated is that he'll be sending staff over to have a look at it. And I've indicated exactly what Councillor Larrabee indicated to him. So he is aware at the staff level. So whether that is grounds for a delegation, that would be up to you.
if I remember, is there a date when his staff will be coming in so I could go and exactly explain to them the problem or show them?
No, when I'm dealing with ministry and trying to promote and advocate, he's indicated in response that he's going to be sending staff, but I can't really say when. That would be kind of pushy. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you want to?
But it's still, I would, if he comes with a solution, then we could always either find something else for MTO or cancel the delegation. But just if he decides not to do anything, then I definitely would like to see the minister.
I just on the MTO subject, if I may, I had also spoken to Mr. Barbeau during one of our weekly meetings in regards to the route Prince Island Highway 64 four-way stop, which was something that was brought up, I guess it was almost a year ago now. And then additionally, when we discussed community safety zones, I lose track of time, 2 weeks runs into 2 weeks, but a little while ago, we had talked about community safety zones on the Highway 64 corridor, both in Verner and through the village of Living. And, that was another one, but, I didn't know whether there was any update from staff on that before kind of like whether there was kind of a slowness to respond from MTO, as in it's not a priority for them, or...
Through you, or Madam, or Your Worship, I believe the file with stop signs is with Elizabeth. I don't know where we're at, if she has any updates on that, or I may be mistaken. And with respect to safety zones, I haven't had an opportunity to act on that yet.
As far as the stop signs, the MTO is currently reviewing that location.
Okay. Thank you. So would council support Councillor Larrabee's request for a delegation in regards to River Valley? Just a quick show of hands, and we'll write it into the resolution. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. Now the other, anybody else have? I don't think we go back for Verner Water until we see the outcome of what the funding application is, because that's not going to impact us. Now, I had been in contact. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that it?
Jamie.
Councillor Restool.
Again, not to put our CEO on the spot, but just maybe a quick update. I know we've been requesting delegations regarding the bridge here in Sturgeon Falls. Is that something we make the wheels squeakier, or in your opinion, do you think we're doing okay with how things are progressing with discussions at your level?
I can't comment on that right now, and I refuse to comment, and you'll know why soon.
I will add that staff has been working very hard at the administrative level. And when Councillor Larrabee, Councillor Pellerin, and I were at FNUM a couple of weeks ago, I purposely didn't ask any questions of the Minister of Transportation, who was in attendance. But I did have an opportunity to speak with him one-on-one for about 3.5 minutes after the Bear Pit. I think administratively the file is moving along, and hopefully we will soon have news to share.
Madam Mayor, you can share more. If you want to. Yeah, I had the green light today.
Okay. So last week I received a letter from the Minister of Transportation indicating that our project has been approved. We do not have any details on what that project rollout will look like, whether it is new construction, whether it is a rehabilitation of the existing asset, whether it's 100% funded, but we are assuming that it will be managed as an MTO project, which was one of our main asks because of the size and scope. But until we have further details, as soon as we have further details, we will share them. Right now, it is kind of a general, your project has been approved without a really kind of tangible description of what that project is. But it is great news. It does follow, when we're talking about the value of these delegations, it follows a lot of work at both at the administrative and the political level. So, we have delegated, I believe, 3 times since we started office. I did have an opportunity at FUNUM last year to ask the very first question to the Minister of Transportation in a room full of our northern colleagues that really outlined the problem as a Northern Ontario problem and not just a West Nipissing problem. We have been in touch politically as there's letters being written for follow-up. And we also, with the help of Madam Clerk, coordinated a support resolution campaign that had a good response among our colleagues, encouraging the provincial government. So it has been a file we worked on for the last 2 or 3 years, both administratively and politically. People don't see the work that goes on in the background when dealing with these big issues, but it's nice. It's nice when we see results of our efforts. Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just as a comment, I want to congratulate everyone that's involved in that, because this is a big file. It's a big event, this bridge. So I'd like to congratulate everyone that's involved in this.
Thank you. Okay, so Councillor Pellerin.
Madame la Mayor. J'avais une question pour M. Barbeau. Quand on a été à la conférence de FONUM, j'ai demandé à plusieurs personnes que je pouvais pointer qu'il y a des should know. Puis il y a une personne qui m'a dit les Connecting Links, ils sont venus en effet autour de 1997. Personne ne sait trop pourquoi là, qu'ils ont dompé ça. Monsieur Barbeau, as-tu plus de réponse que ça?
Je m'excuse, mais je connais la question est au sujet du Connecting Link, mais quoi spécifiquement à ce sujet-là?
Ça a été dompé aux municipalités apparemment en 1997 que j'ai pu comprendre, mais il y a bien du monde qui ne savait pas. C'est correct. Sais-tu comment que ça l'a arrivé?
Non, en effet, moi j'ai commencé à l'an 2000, ça a toujours existé, mais de ma façon de penser, conseiller Pellerin, c'est que ce chemin-là c'est appartenu par la municipalité. C'est pas un chemin, c'est pas un chemin provincial. Alors, mais ce que le programme reconnaît, c'est qu'il y a l'utilisation de la province et il traite comme un chemin, comme une autoroute ou un highway. Alors, they had a 90-10, they had a 90% for capital, 90% provincial and 10% municipal. That still exists. What happened probably, I'm going to say 15 years ago, I'm guessing, but plus or minus a few years, there used to be no cap on it. And but we were subject to having to wait for when our work suited MTO's budgets as well, or the province's budgets. Now, in addition to that, what they did is they capped it to an amount for the entire province, which was quite small. And so there was a lot of lobbying that was done, and they kind of changed that. But the Connecting Link program had its limitations. I could tell you that the bridge, however, is not going to be under the Connecting Link program. That the bridge and the mechanism, the legal mechanism that we worked out is going to be pretty much that MTO and the province will take over the construction and then hand it back to us. And so there was some discussions as early as today with the regional director and myself confirming that. But I can tell you I've had meetings with 2 assistant deputy ministers on that. And that is what they were proposing, and I believe that's what they accepted. So, but in terms of when it was, you'd be educating me on that. I'd have to ask MTO because those highways were always the highway going through here was a Sturgeon Falls highway or Sturgeon Falls Road, and so there was probably some cost sharing mechanism before Connecting Link, but that's all I can tell you.
And I think one of the challenges with the bridge specifically under the Connecting Link program was, for us anyway, it was a $5 million per year maximum. And with a project that is expected to be 25 million, there was no way to make that fit under the Connecting Link unless we wanted to be under construction for 6 years. So that was part of the advocacy, is our project didn't fit squarely into the Connecting Link. And quite frankly, at that price, even the municipality's 10% share is a huge burden on our taxpayers. So, it's like I say, the staff has done an incredible job in working the file. Thank you. Councillor Pellerin?
Oui, si je peux finir.
Oui.
En parlant avec plusieurs autres personnes ici, le monde sont contents que Focus qui est mis sur le pont à propos des Connecting Link. Parce que je parlais même à la ville de North Bay, eux autres aussi, on a Trout Lake Road, qui est la même chose. Apparemment qu'il y en a d'autres dans le nord, fait que ça a l'air qu'il faut les pousse pas mal pour essayer de tout retourner ça à la province. So, il y a ceux qui ont dit que c'est une bonne chose pour le pont ici, ça donne un focus sur les Connecting Link. So, c'est tout.
Councillor Resto?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to add that but I don't really have a lot of details on it, but just to let everyone here know, at all of these gatherings, I'm putting my role at the DSAB on for a second, and they always have a number of issues that they bring forward for AMO delegations. So when we talk about things like, homelessness or different things that are social related, we have our meeting coming up in a couple of weeks, and it's before the deadline here. So I'm sure we'll have more discussion there, but I'd be happy to bring back to this table things that are going to be requested at that table as well, just so you're aware.
You could follow up on our housing application.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I do have a suggestion, but I will let everybody else go first. Councillor Gani?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, thank you. I'm wondering if the 45 unit housing applications for seniors at Oshato would be a delegation to bring back again, because we did it once. We were not favorable our last two applications. So I think maybe it might be time to put pressure on the housing ministry.
Is that my question would be, is that a DSAB issue? Is that a municipality issue?
It's a funding issue.
I know, but as far as who's the better person at the table, Mr. Barbeau?
Both.
Okay.
It's an issue in West Nipissing that we have a body that advocates, but they're also Nipissing district. I believe that this is a West Nipissing issue as well. So I would go at it as from such a multi-pronged approach to impart the seriousness of it for our community.
I would be all in favor of that. And there's a new minister as of not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago. So it would be a different face that we were bringing the problem to. And we already have, the foundation of delegation materials prepared from a staffing level, because we have done it before. There'll be some updates, I'm sure, that you can get from Mr. Dupuy and maybe from McKay and DSAB as to what actions they're at. But you've got that one.
Just a question for clarity. Is this the nonprofit housing portion or the expansion?
Nonprofit housing portion. Okay, and other suggestions? Councillor Rivard?
I don't know if it's because we had our power gen meeting before, if it was brought up then, but like with the Ministry of Energy, with what's going on here, like they're responsible for the efficiency, reliability, productivity of the energy sector producing, you know, so maybe that just the problem that we're facing, if that would be something that we could bring forward. Or
Look to Mr. Barbeau for his sage advice and guidance on that.
Sage advice, I don't know if I offer that, but you know what, maybe Ms. Craddock could speak to it too. I put her on the spot, but you know, I think that it might be appropriate to advocate from that perspective and some of the losses that we took and that we're not simply a for-profit organization that is owned by the private sector, where in fact our dividends are to contribute back to the community for a variety of causes. But and certainly this was a hit, and we certainly felt like it took a long time. So there's certainly a complaint there. Having said that, I wonder if there's any avenues where they would look at perhaps finding us some assistance if our finances are such that we're not able to provide dividends next year. But I think Ms. Craddock can comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope that our issue is resolved before this point, but it certainly will impact. Well, it certainly puts pressure on that dividend transfer, and when the transfer occurs. Your point being that this happened once. What is our protection against repeat situations like this? And certainly repeat situations would put us in a very difficult situation. So
that was kind of, sorry if I may, Madam Mayor, that was kind of my idea. Like even if it is resolved, just putting it in there, you're kind of, this is what happened. And I don't know, then that's their ministry to kind of maybe try and find. I looked up the ministry, and it's all about innovation within the energy sector and providing reliable sources. So maybe this is just something that they'd enjoy hearing, even if maybe there's nothing they can do. But it might just be like we sit in a interesting spot where we own a power generation facility, so I think it would be a good little one to speak to.
You want to comment on his suggestion?
No, I got another subject also.
Okay.
Can I comment?
Yeah, Councillor Gagné.
Just on the Conseiller Rivard, Mr. Barbeau, could we ask to, actually, I think we're supplying 10 kilowatts to the grid right now, but I think we're capable of supplying 12, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we're able to supply 10 megawatts. When we get above that threshold, there's a bunch of other legislative requirements. So, the key is to stick it at around the 10 megawatts. We've signed an agreement for that, a long-term agreement that gives us certainty going forward. But we were though at 8.6. We were rated at 8.6. And we increased that. And so we did get that win about a year or two ago. My recommendation would not be to increase that. The other limiting factor, Councillor Gagné, would be the capacity on the line over there. And I'm not sure, I think it's all spoken for. So they would have to do an increase on capacity on the Crystal Falls lines to begin with. If you take ours combined with Crystal Falls Hydroelectric, and then you take the solar farms, I think we're pretty close to the max there anyway. So I'm not sure that would have the return.
Okay,
But certainly, I think it's a good idea to have a delegation with the Ministry of Energy to just put them on the record, let them know what we've been doing and that kind of thing. So that I think that might be a good suggestion.
Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Also, a discussion that we've had before is provide natural gas to Ward 6. Down in River Valley, the line is right there. That would be an easy fix. But the line also goes toward Hager and very close to Kipling. You can have Kipling, Cache Lake, and even Field would benefit from the natural gas. So if we could get them to concentrate on on grants to bring natural gas to the northern area of our municipality.
Mr. Barbeau? Sorry, I just, because I don't understand how that's funded, so.
Yeah, I think it's it's a good idea, and I think I commented in another meeting with you, Madam Mayor, with respect to resources and large undertakings all taken at the same time when we were talking about the Oshawtona meeting. Councillor Gagne was there as well. We can prepare those, but to prepare a brief and to carry forward with it, I'm just not sure. Perhaps we can delay that one with your patience, Councillor Larrabee, for a Roma or OGRA one. I think Roma might be a good one as well in terms of rural. So that might be better suited at that one.
Follow up, yes, I understand. Sometimes if you ask too much, you get nothing. So I do understand it's a need, but we haven't had it so far, so we could patient.
Yeah,
Thank you.
let's look at it for Roma.
For Roma, yeah.
Can I share my idea now? Anybody else? Okay, so last Wednesday, I had a meeting at the West Nipissing General Hospital. Councillor Restoul was there wearing a different hat. I'm not sure, I think he was wearing his hospital board hat that day. So it was myself, there was about 4 or 5 members of the West Nipissing General Hospital staff, the chair and vice chair of the hospital board, the new CEO, Dr. Michael Green, from NOSMU, along with 3 or 4 of his colleagues, including, strangely enough, Mr. Barbeau's cousin, and as well as the executive director and Dr. Katsuno from the family health team, and Guy Robichaud and Dr. Breton from the community health center. During the discussions that we were having, NOSMU indicated, we were talking about the services, provision of services for healthcare in French for Francophone communities. And NOSMU has been working towards trying to secure funding to become a bilingual institution. And we were talking about that, about the importance for communities like ours to have that training provided in French. And I did mention that, you know, obviously within the health sector, we're not providing money, we're not, you know, doing any of that stuff, but that we could perhaps be a voice to advocate for that kind of service and more effectively done in partnership with other municipalities like us, smaller rural municipalities. So I would propose a delegation with the Minister of Francophone Affairs. And I've already had follow-up from the CEO of the hospital with a list of communities with designated hospitals that are designated French language services, and they include people that I've developed relationships with over the last couple of years, including Kapuskasing, Hearst, Dubreuilville. And so I'm wondering whether there is an appetite to partner with some other municipalities and advocate on behalf of NOSMU for the funding to help support their transition into being a bilingual institution. I know it doesn't benefit the municipality itself directly, but it is a benefit to a lot of our residents, and it's a benefit to French residents across Northern Ontario. Councillor Ferrin, you haven't spoken very much tonight.
Well, there I am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can also add to that because recently, as you know, I had the pleasure of welcoming a doctor from France who was looking for somewhere to come and emigrate to in Canada. And I was introduced to him through a member of the community. And he came with his wife. He's already a landed immigrant, so all this is done. And so, and they're looking for a community to come to, which is not, you know, the large cities, which is not Southern Ontario. Their main language, their language is French. So they're looking for a community where they can speak in French and live in French, but they're also looking for a community that where they can perfect their English. So it's like, you know, West Nipissing, you know, made for them. And so I invited them over and I put them up overnight and I organized a meeting with the family health team, Maxine Garo. Then unfortunately the CEO of the hospital wasn't here that week, but she organized for some staff to give us a tour of the hospital. Mr. Dupuis organized for someone at Au Chateau to give him a tour of Au Chateau. And then I took him around to show them our beautiful community, and they're sold and they really want to come here. But the problem is the obstacles they have to overcome, that he has to overcome as a doctor to come here, are huge. Not unsurmountable, but you know, what it appears is that the government of Ontario kind of like decided to fast track anyone from the United States or from the UK. But you know, there's more. There's the whole. I mean, he's from France, and we can't really say that, you know, French qualifications are any less good than American ones or UK ones. So if we want to attract French doctors to service the French members of the community, we need to be looking in France and Switzerland and Belgium. One example another obstacle is to practice as a family doctor. A doctor has to do something called the Practice Ready Assessment. And it's a course they have to follow. And it's not available in French in Ontario, only in English. And that would be a problem for him because he's not comfortable enough in English to be able to do the course. So, you know, this, if we had a meeting with the Minister of Francophone Affairs, is certainly something that I'd like to raise. And I'm just wondering also whether, and I know it's probably very difficult to get a delegation with the Minister of Health, but I think at the end of the day, it's the Minister of Health. It falls under them. And maybe we should be asking for a delegation with them also. Because, you know, it's all these things, it's a long shot, but if we don't work at it, if we don't lobby, and if we don't go up there and say, you know, make it easier for us to bring doctors in, because we've got 4,000 people without a doctor in West Nipissing. You know, we have to shout, we have to scream.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because those two issues are so closely connected. How that could be structured. Mr. Barbeau, thoughts?
Well, I'm just listening, and it doesn't sound like in your first meeting with the hospital and others that we would be necessarily the primary. If I understood you correctly, NOSM is trying to get a bilingual designation, and they are soliciting the support of bilingual healthcare facilities as well. So my only thought perhaps is if there's a joint delegation, it might be more effective, but perhaps NOSM's lead would be, required. As you indicated, I could speak to somebody that I know, Danielle Barbeau Rodrigue, and she's head of Francophone services for NOSM, and find out what they are doing, and then bring it to their attention. Unless, Madam Mayor, they ask to have a delegation.
I've actually already did a little bit of the legwork in order to collect some of that information. So I do have a document from her just outlining their efforts to date. So I'll at least be able to speak intelligently to it when I came here this evening. So I can share that with you. And then if you want to make a call, that would be fantastic.
So if, you know, if you feel that we go on our own to have a delegation about NOSM being bilingual, then fine. I mean,
No, I think it's more effective if it's done in collaboration with other municipalities.
I would think so as well.
Yeah, I think that we speak louder with one voice, so. Anyway,
And with respect to the second point by Councillor Fadin, certainly we could take the tack of a small rural bilingual community and have the francophone nature, but also have the issues and the barriers that we have in attracting physicians and physicians that match our culture. So perhaps we can craft something up there as well.
well, that's a fairly extensive list for your staff team, Mr. Corbeau. Anybody else have, Councillor Gagné?
Madam Mayor, I don't know if that's it's a good idea, but should we advocate for the new build of the Eau Chateau, which is going to cost us over $1 million, which we can't afford? Would that be a good delegation also?
Do you mean 100 million?
100 million.
100 million?
Yeah, 1 million we could probably
Sorry,
Again, through you, I would work with Mr. Dupree to see what his suggestion is with respect to that. But if you know, again, if that's the route that we're taking and moving forward with it, then certainly we can have a look at it. So I guess, yeah, we can put it down, and then Ms. Ducharme, when is the deadline?
10 days, the 30th.
So we wouldn't be able to make it to the June meeting. We'd have to make a decision now, right? Okay.
I think we probably have some foundational work to do before we start on that one, but.
But the issue is the financial portion. That's the barrier. So
yeah,
I think we are not missing the boat by advocating that the current financial structure, which is a 60-40 split between the municipalities and the Ministry of Long-Term Care, isn't feasible for our kind of geographic tax-based area. So for me, that would be a good kind of a punch, just to say, like, are you guys like willing to actually look at it, or have you considered revising it, and what are the options?
We can we can put something together.
So I'm just going to summarize, make sure that I got all this information. So following council delegations, MTO regarding the River Valley Road shoulder on Highway 64, or is it 539? 64? The Ministry of Transportation. 539.
8.
The Ministry of Transportation regarding the community safety zones and the four-way stop on Highway 64. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing regarding the nonprofit housing. Ministry of Energy regarding the power generation situation. The Ministry of Francophone Affairs regarding the bilingual NOSM initiative to be designated bilingual institution. The Ministry of Health concerning doctors suitable for the municipal's community, and the Ministry of Long-Term Care regarding the financial implications of the Eau Chateau rehabilitation.
I hope we don't get them all. We won't have time to do that. We'll miss the whole conference. You got the apartments in there?
That's the Eau Chateau, yes.
Eau Chateau apartments.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Please say no. Okay. Okay, so the resolution has been read with no further suggestions. All those in favor? Thank you. I do apologize for that. Generally, we would have that discussion in general government, or sorry, in committee of the whole, and have a resolution come back the next meeting. But because of the timelines we get for these delegation requests, we had to do things a little differently in order to meet those deadlines. So thank you. 6.5.5.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Ferrand. Be it resolved that a commemorative naming of the pavilion structure at the Sturgeon Falls Beach be named the Leisure Farm Pavilion and a plaque be installed with the name of the Deschâtelet family.
Okay, questions, comments? All those in favor? It's carried.
It is moved by Councillor Ferrand and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Be it resolved that Public Works equipment described as the 2012 Case Wheel Loader Model 621 EXT, serial number NBF 211512, be declared surplus for the municipality of West Nipissing, and that Council authorize the transfer of the equipment to the West Nipissing Environmental Services.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Ferrand. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-48 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2023-27 to govern the proceedings of council of the corporation of the municipality of West Nipissing be adopted as presented.
Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Ferrand, seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas at the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting held on the 6th of May 2025, the Chief Administrative Officer provided a memo with recommendations relating to activity reports, council decision tracking, and notices of motion. And whereas Council agreed with the CAO's recommendation, be it resolved that the CAO develop a policy on developing regular reports to Council and that the reports be appended to the agenda documentation provided to Council.
Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Ferrand. Whereas at the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting held on the 6th of May 2025, the Chief Administrative Officer provided a memo with recommendations relating to activity reports, council decision tracking, and notices of motion. And whereas Council has agreed with CAO's recommendations, be it resolved that the CAO develop a policy that outlines a framework whereby council decisions are tracked and that the documentation be appended to every agenda submitted to Council.
Okay, questions, comments? All those in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Ferrand and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas Council considered a staff report on July 9th, 2024 regarding ward boundaries, and whereas Council agreed that the current ward structure of the municipality of West Nipissing is in need of some minor adjustments to address both increased development and existing anomalies in the structure, and whereas Council considered a report containing recommendations for ward boundary adjustments, and whereas Council was in general agreement with the proposed ward realignment, subject to the changes proposed at that meeting, be it resolved that Council for the West Nipissing Municipality hereby agrees in principle with the proposed realignment of wards 1 to 8 as set out in Schedule A to this resolution, subject to consultation with residents of West Nipissing, and be it further resolved that staff be directed to commence consultation with the West Nipissing residents to obtain comments, concerns, and suggestions to the proposed realignment.
Okay, did everybody have a chance to take a look at the map, which is to be a reflection of the conversation from our last meeting? Okay, questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Ferrand. Whereas Council has reviewed a discretionary grant request from the Studio Project Arts Collective, seeking a fee waiver for the use of the Marcel Noel Hall and Arena in order to host Future in Safe Hands Festival 2025. Be it resolved that pursuant to bylaw number 20, policy number 2024-137, discretionary grant, Council authorizes the fees be waived for the use of the Marcel Noel Hall and Arena on July 24th to July 27th in order to host the Future in Safe Hands Festival 2025.
Okay, questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Okay, that is defeated. Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Ferrand, seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas Council has received 3 separate discretionary grant requests from the West Nipissing General Hospital Foundation for 3 days of hall rental in the Marcel Noel Hall for a fundraising event, from the West Nipissing Community Health Center for 2 days of hall rental in the Werner Hall for a youth camp, and Les Compagnons de Franc Loisir for a 1-day rental of the arena floor for a bike rodeo. Be it resolved that pursuant to policy 2024-137 discretionary grant, Council hereby authorizes the fees be waived for the use of each of these facilities.
Okay, questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Ferrin. Whereas the request for proposals were sought for the recruitment services for the recruitment and selection of a new chief administrative officer, and whereas 13 proposals were received and reviewed by the hiring committee, and whereas the hiring committee selected a short list of 4 proposals for evaluation, and whereas council concurs with the recommendation received, be it resolved that the proposal for the recruitment services for the recruitment and selection of a new chief administrative officer be awarded to Waterhouse Executive Search in the amount of $28,500.
Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just one question.
Councillor Larrabee?
That could not, we couldn't proceed with like in-house. We have to go outside to, to get the process going.
I think it was determined, well, I think council had that discussion on as a whole. Oops.
Yeah, so we did have discussions much earlier with council as far as how we were going to proceed with this process when the time came, and felt that going out with a selection firm, both because of the significance of this practice and how far the reach would need to be and the expertise of selecting someone to lead the entire organization, and also just to ensure that there is a good and transparent process so that it doesn't look like I'm directly hiring my boss or that, the mayor is acting on her own or anything like that. But this just, provides confidence to council and to the public about the process on selecting the CAO.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Ferrin, seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas requests for tenders were sought for the riverfront drainage and resurfacing project, and whereas 7 tenders were received, and whereas council concurs with the recommendations received, be it resolved that the tender for the riverfront drainage and resurfacing project be awarded to Lavelle Brothers Excavating in the amount of $339,925, being the lowest tender meeting all specifications.
Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Ferrin. Whereas requests for quotations were sought for the engineering and design of the Bourgault Church Corsal project, and whereas 8 quotations were received, whereas council concurs with the recommendation received, be it resolved that the quotations for the engineering and design for the Bourgault Church and Corsal Street projects be awarded to Engage Engineering in the amount of $51,366.
Is that within budget? Yes. Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Pellerin.
I just have a question to Ms. Alexander. It's not maybe as much as a question as a comment. How can bids go from 51,000 to 208,000? Are they reading the same page?
So I think what you're seeing there when you look at that spread, the lower bids are all much smaller firms who are bidding aggressively, trying to gain more experience with municipalities of our size. And the higher ones are much larger firms who are likely have a very full workload already. So they don't have the incentive to do the work. So they're just going to bid really high. And
okay, if we get it, we make money.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, question, any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Yes, I feel like I've spoken a lot already this evening. So the only thing I want to mention in my mayor's report is the planned power interruption by Hydro One that will affect all GSU customers. So that's any of our urban areas. If you get your hydro bill from GSU, I think there may also be some Hydro One customers affected. Information is available. Is it on our website? Mr. Barbeau? Do we have information on the planned power outage on our website, or should people refer to Hydro One?
I wouldn't know that. I haven't looked at our website, but if I can ensure that comms put something out there.
So I will say that the power outage, it says, affect all Greater Sudbury Hydro customers in Sturgeon Falls and Cache Bay, scheduled to take place Sunday, June 1st from 11 p.m. until 4:30 a.m. So just residents, please take note of that time. There will be no power. Charge your phones, hunker down with the iPad and some Netflix, and that'll be that. So that's all I'd like to mention. I think that meeting's been long enough this evening. And thank you to Neil Fox and Economic Partners for a great AGM last week.
It is moved by Councillor Fedin, seconded by Councillor Rivard. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-49 being a bylaw of the West Nipissing Municipality to confirm the proceedings of the council at its meeting held on the 20th of May 2025 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Fedin. Be it resolved that the council and committee of the whole meeting on May 20th, 2025 be adjourned.
Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you to all staff.